everybody can see this. All right, here we go. Man, I hope you guys are having a good day. It's your boy Mook Spook. Just thought I'd go ahead and do a show and talk about both leagues. We are going to spend time between both leagues. So I know not everybody plays within both, but I figured, you know what? I know me and Legend, between our BOD as a whole, we've been trying to get a show out. But to be quite honest, man, work's been busy. Everything else has been busy. And we just haven't had the opportunity to do this. But what I'm going to do is just to give you a brief breakdown. We're going to talk about a few games that happened between the weeks, all the way from the start of each, from the beginning up until where both leagues are sitting currently, just to discuss some of that. Top tens or the top, looking at the current rankings for the leagues. Obviously, everybody saw the updates on the game. I'm sure there's a ton of different perspectives. Me personally, you know, I'm one of those that just felt like, maybe we started a little too quick. I may have pushed that button too fast and kind of got, probably didn't assist us the best in getting started as far as league play. But hell, here we are, and this is what we're doing. So I am going to start over in KOC or KC. I don't even know what the new name is that we've actually changed it for both leagues. But like I said, going to try to run through this and give a little breakdown, give some perspective on what I've seen. I mean, again, you can talk a lot about the gameplay, as far as where we sit, not just as far as leagues, but just from playing the game itself. I mean, the update showed a lot of things that, at least to me, where I thought, hey, that makes a lot of sense, because I was trying to call that hard flat, and the hard flat was not working how it should have. Or maybe the logic with cover three is not making sense. The stunts that you see on defense, that was a big change that they supposedly are going to be correct, and so we'll see. So I'm just going to go straight over into the leagues. Going to go into KC. I'm going to continue to say KOC now until we just define it, because unfortunately too many of y'all have an issue being mature, even though you may hear me pause something I have stated once or twice in this show. Going to go straight over to the top 25, because that's the easiest spot to begin. This is going to change, or at least in my opinion, this should change pretty quickly. Obviously, you've got J. Rose sitting at the top with Benny in the second spot, Qua in the third. CJ sitting in that fourth spot, went up from the fifth with South Carolina. And then you got Legend with Arizona State. I think Legend doesn't have a game this week. So, he's got a game against Indiana, which is going to be against Smitty. Actually, I think that game was already played. We'll get to it. And then, of course, I'm sitting there at the sixth spot with Clemson. And then you've got Slick with Miami, just got a win last night. And then with Florida, that will be TOP, Mark with Penn State. And then Indiana would be Smitty. And then, of course, you've got a few teams kind of lingering at the bottom. But, of course, with each league, you're going to see a different level of competition and energy behind these games. But that is the current top 10. For the most part, you have the league up here covering the top 25, which is always a plus. Really quickly, going to go over and look at the Heisman watch. I haven't really paid attention to this really in both leagues. Obviously, Dylan Edwards being up there for Isaiah is really not a shock, because if you caught any of the games, I mean, it felt like that was pretty much the majority of the offense for him so far with Kansas State. And then Mark's got his running back up here with Nicholas Singleton up here as well. So we'll see how that plays out, and hopefully we'll see some changes as we get these CPU teams and their records down. Going to go over conference standings real quick. As far as KC is concerned, I'm going to have to work on that lingo, or maybe figure out a switch. Obviously, you can see here as far as the current standings per conference with the ACC. You got Smitty at the top with Indiana, and y'all gonna have to tell me if I announce somebody's team situation wrong, because I'm just letting you know now. between both leagues. I got so accustomed to what teams people had last year. So you might have to give me a pass here. Smitty's sitting at the top. I'm currently undefeated with a 5-0 record. Slick at 4-1. I do not believe him and Smitty have faced just yet. And then, of course, top at 3-1. Lost a tough game actually against Slick. We watched that one. I don't know how you let somebody hit you on a corner route 5 times, top, but that did happen. Tough loss. And then, of course, if you got Brad 3-2, he's only 1-1 in the conference. I mean, we're still kind of at that halfway point, I'd say, over in KOC at this point. Josh with UCLA and then Arizona State. Interesting, the game has him down here at the bottom, but again, it's going by conference standings. Big 12, USC. That's going to be Austin, currently sitting at the top with Isaiah. And then, of course, you're going to have Colton, Ty Daddy with 2-0 with Texas. And then SMU with Swag, not having the same results of last year to start. And then, of course, Ajax with 1-2 with Texas Tech. And then Ivan, new to college. He had a decent win, granted a few battles, but sitting at the bottom at 1-3. And then the Big Ten, we've got Mark, CJ, myself, Qua, and then, of course, Jay Rose over here. Not too big of a stretch just yet as far as the conference is concerned from a ranking standpoint, although the game does have Mark sitting at the top. And, of course, Bloodshed a little struggling up to this point at 0-4. And then going to the Pac-12, we have kind of a shocker. Really kind of a shocker. DTZ is starting off well with Mississippi State at 4-0. I think he's only played one user game, maybe 2. I don't know. I'm going to have to verify that. But he's 4-0 right now. He's 4-0, so you got to give credit where it's due. So obviously he's sitting at the top right now at the Pac-12, with Jacob also being undefeated with Wizard Kelly as well. J-Stack playing with his favorite team on the game with Arkansas at 2-2. And then Huncho 2-2 as well as with those North Carolina Tar Heels, Mr. Tar Heel himself sitting at 2-2 in the Pac-12. I'm not going to really go too much about who's going to win what or how people are going to perform for the most part. Again, we started off kind of off base this year, so it really kind of, I'll be honest, just from the entertainment and doing my natural little thing, it threw me off. But I'm hoping after this work trip I go on and come back that I'm able to kind of get back into my normal process with everybody in league play. But we do have Benny at 4-1, and then of course Lolo 3-2, and then Steve at 2-2 with Tennessee. And then with Ole Miss, I believe Ole Miss's Twist at 1-2 to start. A little shocked that he's 1-2 to start. But hey, it's going to be a long season, and of course the way the game plays out as far as schedules, you never really know how things are going to end up. And then, of course, Rome, 1-3 with Georgia. And then Eastside, 1-3 with Notre Dame. Obviously, the biggest shock that if I'm going to look at anything with this conference for me is going to be, you got the 2 best teams, in my opinion, on the game next to Alabama, currently at the bottom. I'm not really shocked in the space of Rome. I think he's still trying to figure out that situation with Georgia. I did see this in the game that he had where he had a slant open. He missed it. Me and Smitty commented on it. Caused friction. It is what it is. At the bottom. Then, of course, the new user with Auburn, JD. Again, I think for a lot of new guys, which I was hoping at some point to have a show with myself and Legend to talk about people coming into this space of gameplay and the competitive aspect of both leagues. Just that transition over to what we have from a competitive standpoint. I am pretty sure there are leagues that would feel they are more competitive from a competition standpoint, top to bottom. Totally fine. Don't give a shit. I don't play there. But as for us, what I can tell you is for now, it looks like we have a pretty decent competitive standpoint across the board. That's going to be the conference standings, at least for looking at the KOC side. I was going to look at a few weeks, what I had seen. The first one was obviously going to go straight to week 0 because DTZ got a big win to start the season. With Mississippi State, he goes in against Ajax. I believe Ajax is the same person as PS5 guy. I'm not sure. I'm assuming that is the same person, but he won that 34-15 and pretty much has had success up to that point. I believe he's had one other user game up to this point because there were a few CPU bye weeks that were in conference, but definitely giving him credit there. And then going straight to week one, Legend steps on Benny's neck with Arizona State, wins 30-23, pulls this game out, a close game, but ultimately he gets over Alabama, and I think with him getting over Alabama, that has held him in that top 5, top 10 range despite recent losses that he has had. Also in that week one, Jacob had a big game. Jacob had a big game in week one as well. And of course, he's currently undefeated, which is no shock there at all. But Jacob also had a big win. I'm trying to find the game here. But Jacob did with Washington. I may have just passed it. Jacob got him a big win with Washington over. Yeah, there it is. With Washington over FSU, 42-14, and really after his week 0 game, went into week one, and basically kind of continued 42-14 over Brad, and he's currently sitting undefeated in league play up to this point. And week 2, the only big game, or the biggest kind of, I'm not even going to call it a wow, and I'll probably get more and more to this later, but I don't want to necessarily call it a wow, but it is definitely, I mean, hey, there's no, we said this last year, and we're going to keep the same energy this year. There's no excuse if you have teams like Georgia, Ohio State, any of those top teams to not have some type of positive production. There are just certain teams you should beat on the game, regardless of gameplay, regardless of situation. CJ pulled this one out 24-21 over Rome with South Carolina, and he's now sitting in that 4th spot, as we talked about earlier. We'll see if Rome's able to turn it around with Georgia, as I'm not sure if he's beat a ranked team yet with Georgia up to this point. And then that was really the last game as far as week 2. Going over to week 3, it was basically a game of love and hate and frustration. Because Benny did win against Qua. He got a win here on this one, and this game between Alabama and Ohio State. He does come out with a, I mean, as much as these two respect each other, you definitely didn't see it in gameplay. As he wins this game 49-14. Again, from what I saw in this game, it was close in the beginning of it. I'd say most likely the first half. And then everything after that, it just kind of ran off the board. So, again, for guys for guys within the chat, just relaying it once again, we're going to go through both leagues. This is going to be a combination show. It's much easier to do a combination show than it is to try to do 130 and 130. I ain't doing all that, or at least not for now. But that was the game in week 3, and then week 4. It looks like Eastside is trying to get his groove back, get back on his feet with Notre Dame, because he does pull out a game over Lolo, gets to shut out 14-0 to win that one, and kind of I think this game is going to propel him, just trying to figure out the best way to play with Notre Dame. One of the things I realized based on the team you get is people try to play similar play styles to what they played in the past with other teams, when you make and adjust a little bit. I've had to do that with Wisconsin last year on the game, and it's just based on how the game played. Best option for me was to run the ball. This year, I have the opportunity to make a little bit of a change there, throw the ball a little bit more, and try to have some success. But Eastside had a great game there to win that one. And then, of course, the SMU and Penn State game, obviously, Mark wins this one. This one was just fun to watch just from watching the game itself. Again, Swag not having the best start, not having the preferable start he would have. I was still shocked that he put SMU first as his team. when he had an opportunity to get his second team if he'd have just placed him first. But he chose SMU. He's 1-2 up to this point. That was actually a really good game to watch. Week 5, TCU with Wizard Kelly playing ball. Brother is absolutely playing ball. He got a good game against Ivan. The game did not start in the favor of them Aggies at all. And again, Ivan being transitioning over to the atmosphere of college. It's funny. To me, I would not personally think it would be a difficult transition from Madden to college. But again, gameplay is different. How the build process is different. The time it takes is different. Wizard Kelly pulled this one out, 49-28. Definitely a huge game there for him. And then, of course, last but not least, I would say up to this point, obviously, Ohio State winning that game. Quad gets won 52-34. We are currently in the league play. If I'm not mistaken, we are currently either in Week 6 or about to step into Week 6. It's one of the two. But Slick did play well. I did watch a game with Slick and Brad last night. He won that one 45-14. Definitely, obviously, it's going to be a rivalry game. They're in the same conference. The story is not over really for FSU at all. Again, I think there's some adjustments that every user is going to have to make with these updates. I'm really curious to see how these games turn out once the update gets here. But that is going to be the breakdown as far as the games that I saw and recognized and thought from an entertainment perspective. These were either great games that I saw users play or kind of eye-opening situations as far as gameplay as a whole over in KOC. Now, going back to this top 25, as I did talk about it earlier about, we always look at who is at the top of each conference. And then we look at the top 25 because obviously that's just how college works. But I wanted to point out maybe 2 or 3 specific stories and just people that I'm enjoying watching play up to this point. First one's obviously going to be Jacob. Currently sitting at 5-0 with those Washington Huskies. I just like to see people do well that may have not had the same success last season. And then, of course, as mad as this man was about not getting Miami, he's currently 4-0. We'll see how things work out. Unfortunately, again, he's had 2 CPU games, so I don't know how I really feel about if things are going to end for him the way they have started. But he's 4-0. You got to give credit there. And then, of course, Smitty being 5-0 with Indiana. Everybody was pretty much after his head the same way they are with Qual. But he's currently undefeated. We'll see if it stays that way as the season ends. That's going to be the ending of this for our KOC side. I'm going to take a quick break, switch over to LOC, and we'll be right back. Like I said, I'm going to start over on the LOC side, and I'm just going to roll through this. And again, as I said it earlier, not having the same level of preparation as I was able to have last year with a few shows, whether it's perfect. Obviously, it's not even about shooting perfection, really, for me. Y'all got me fucked up. Ain't nobody paying me for that. But really just shooting for, just making sure we keep the entertainment side of this outside of the shit talk that happens in league play. And going to go straight over to our Heisman watch over in the LOC. And currently we do have 4 users with players currently in the Heisman watch in LOC. We're going to have South Carolina. That's going to be Roach with his quarterback, Lenore Sellers. I'm pretty sure Roach was in the Heisman race to start the season last year as well, but I could be wrong about that. Somebody'd have to confirm. Smitty having Caden Durham with LSU. Not a shock there if you've watched any of his previous games. That man is definitely being used on that LSU team. He's also a sophomore, so 2 sophomores back to back. And then, of course, for Arkansas, Taylon Green, the quarterback for Young, balling for him. There's some other opinions people might have, but I'll just keep that to thyself. But he's balling for Young up to this point. And then right behind it is CJ with a sophomore quarterback as well. DJ Lagway, a dual threat out of Willis, Texas, playing well for him with those Florida Gators. Going over and just to take a peek at the conference standings up to this point. Now, LOC is about an advance or 2, I believe, 2 advances ahead currently of KOC. Understanding LOC did start about a day and a half earlier, so we're not completely off from an advanced standpoint, but I do understand from a speed standpoint, LOC is at some point going to just take off naturally. The difference between both leagues is what it is. But we're looking over at the ACC to start out currently. Miami for Austin sitting at 4-1. We've got Rome at 4-2 with Ohio State. And then I know his name is King. I don't know the additional numbers to his name, but I do know that his name starts with King. I believe it's 757. I believe that's his name. Currently sitting at 2-3, not having didn't have the hottest start for the season, but he's also undefeated in conference play. We got Hendricks 3-3, 2-1 in conference play. King 504 at 3-2. And then Mr. Sean Poppy himself joining us with Clemson, an additional new user. Again, he's a guy that is majority from what I know has been more into the Madden side, more even invested in the Madden side last year. I'm actually going to give him some kudos because he actually runs a really good league from what I played over there. So I appreciate him being at least open and willing to joining us over in this NCAA dynasty that we have. Wisconsin, I'm sitting 3-3. I'm not really shocked by this. I've lived this story. I know how this story is going to go. I know how this story starts. I'm just trying to change how the story ends when it comes to Wisconsin. Again, I don't want to get too much into what I think people are going to do within conference play. I'm just assuming that it will be Austin at the top facing someone who I have no idea out of the ACC. Going over to the Big 12, and man, let me tell you, this was, and I get it. There's a lot of things from a schedule standpoint, from coaching standpoint, from an archetype standpoint, how it impacts your team from a recruiting standpoint, all those things that there are potential mix-ups when it comes to the schedules being set up in conferences. This was my favorite conference to put together. I was more amped about this conference than I was about any conference in the league. Like, there was not one conference that got me as giddy than this conference alone, just because of the users themselves from a competitive nature, the energy for the most part of this group. I'm just telling you, between both leagues, this is my favorite conference out of all of them. These are my people right here. It's right at the top. You have the Navs currently sitting undefeated, 5-0 with NC State. I've caught a few games of his. Man, dude can ball, just period. He can ball. And of course, you've got Young, 7-0, 5-0 in the conference. Definitely doing great up to this point. And all I'm going to say about Young is he told y'all what was going to happen. He told y'all what was coming down the road. Texas Tech, we've got Isaiah. He did not get the team he wanted, or at least from my understanding. He didn't get the team he wanted, but he got the team he knows with Texas Tech, and he's currently sitting 4-1, 2-0 in the conference. UCLA, That is going to be Fuzz with the switch not using Hawaii this year. I don't even think he put Hawaii on his list of teams. At least I don't remember. But he's 4-1 as well. And then we've got Blaze sitting at 3-2. I would argue that Blaze had the harder schedule to start the season than the other users within the conference. But he's 3-2, 1-2 to start the year in the conference. And then, of course, Roach sitting at the bottom, 3-4 and 2-3 in the conference. Again, I have no idea. I have no idea because from the competitive standpoint of this group, the easiest answer for me wants to go between Nav and Young, but Isaiah is still in the mix. And, I mean, this is not over. This isn't over by a long shot. I think, if anything, you'll see one of these guys go undefeated to finish out. Going over to the Big Ten, you do have, the previous GOAT. I got to call him the previous GOAT because it's a new year, new years, new GOATs. And T-Raw sitting at, or y'all call him Charles, T-Raw. T-Raw is just easier. He's 5-0 at Notre Dame, 4-0 in the conference. And then we have Smitty right behind him, 5-1, also undefeated in the conference. So that lets me know these two have not seen each other yet. And then we have JC, 4-2, 2-2 in the conference. Gideon at 3-2 with CJ at 3-2 or JC. They're one of the two. Either one of them gonna know who the hell I'm talking about. But with FSU being 2-0 in the conference, and then of course Penn State at the bottom with a very shocking start, according to the communication in the chat. I can't say it's shocking because I don't know the dude very well, but it seems like a shocking start from what has been communicated within the chat. Going over to the Pac-12, we're going to have Mark at 5-1, and then I believe Washington is Ron C at 6-2. I think him and Mark actually just played. They played at like 5:30 in the morning. I mean, y'all got a whole different level of dedication. Let me tell you that. And then Frizzle, I believe, is USC, currently 3-2, 3-1 in the conference, so definitely not out of it. And then Indiana's going to be GA Bound at 3-3 with Legend 2-3. And then we have Showtime with No Lights On currently at 2-4. And, of course, Bird at 1-4 with Kansas State. This conference, I think it's, for the most part, pretty clear how that one's going to at least end by the season, by season's end. Going over to the SEC, another conference that it's kind of up and down in a way this year compared to last year, because I can't really look at one team and really try to justify who is having the better season. Obviously, you can go by record, but you also got to look at who everyone has played. With Ole Miss, you're going to have D-Mac at 4-1, currently undefeated in the conference. He did get that game, I do remember, and I think I have that wrote down over the game he got over Colton. I'm pretty sure it was 31-11 was the score. Colton 6-2, 4-1 in the conference. And then we have Vic returning to the SEC. That was his preference. That's his favorite home within league play. And then Fireman 3-2, 1-2 in the conference. Juwan 4-3 with those Aggies, 3-1 in conference play. And then Jay Rose with Alabama 3-3. Another conference that I have no idea because what the games that I've seen. Just because of the games that I've seen, I have no idea. I've seen, I've seen D-Mac win over Colton, and then I've seen Colton play a game, which we're gonna break all that down. We're gonna break all that down. I have no idea, but that is the current conference standings within league play. Jumping into the top 25, same thing. Majority of teams have been taken over by user play. I don't know what the hell is going on with Pittsburgh. I'm telling y'all, I've gone in since I saw this yesterday, and I'm pretty sure everyone else on the BOD did the same thing. Went in and just lost the hell out of Pittsburgh for the remainder of the season. Hell, I gave Georgia Tech a win because of the game against Boston College, because Boston College is 5-2. So we'll see how this plays out as far as these teams down here. But obviously, this will be addressed prior to the playoffs getting here. But as you can see, this is the current top 10 of the league. And basically, I'm just going to call it, for the most part, not a shocker. For the most part, the current top 10, not a shocker. Obviously, previous GOAT in Trawl with Notre Dame last year had a very dominant start with LSU. I don't know who built that spinner, but that damn thing is broken because the man ended up getting a great situation again. And then you have Austin, which is kind of interesting because these two users have some history that happened not too long ago within league play. But he's currently sitting at number 2 in league play. Smitty falls in ranking, and I didn't really understand how that happened. But again, the game's ranking system and how it works is something to still understand. Rome is sitting 4-2, which is, again, I think that has more to do with just the team he has within game play. The interesting thing, and then again, the thing about rankings is you look at that picture to start the league, and it may not actually justify the situation or position somebody's in, because currently where Rome sits, I feel like he's going to have some tough games to finish out, but we'll see how that all plays out for those Buckeyes. Mark 5-1, and I'm going to say a healthy 5-1. Had a crazy game between him and Indiana, by the way, which again I have listed down at 5-1. Ole Miss going up to the top, and you're seeing a lot of. It's a healthy mix so far as the top 10. But D-Mac sitting 4-1 and currently ranked 6th in league play up to this point. JC with Florida, Fireman at 8. And then J Rose at 9. I mean, like I said, story's not over for any of these guys. And then Colton, a quiet 6-2. I say a quiet 6-2 because the man doesn't say much. He took some very tough losses, I think, at one point to start the league play. Quietly sitting 6-2. And then, of course, you finish that out with a few additional competitive top users within league play. But ultimately, the top 10 is what it stands. Now, I did want, as getting ready to finish this out, I did want to go and look at some of the previous weeks and do the same thing I did over in KOC and talk about some of the games that I saw. I'm only going to try to break down the games that I actually watched. So you may have had a crazy game against somebody, something major would have happened, but ultimately, I just want to give the attention to the games that I actually was able to watch or at least chime in for a bit as the season went on. Starting right off at week 0, Isaiah starts with a bang. Just that simple. The man started with a bang, wins 33-13 over Kings 7-5-7 with Oregon. And, I mean, he's 4-1 now. So that game really boosted his confidence with Texas Tech up to the point where he is now. But he started the season off with a bang. I mean, 33-13, that was it. That was the game for me out of the week 0 window, just from a score standpoint. I mean, obviously, we did see the game with Blaze, and I thought, okay, well, Blaze just took out Vic, and, you kind of lean on previous history. But, man, this game is not the same game that we played last year. Going over into week 1, the first one is, I had to go straight here. It's going to be between Traw and Austin. Traw won this game. There's some controversy behind the game. There's different energy within the league about decisions made as we get closer to that fourth quarter or going into that fourth quarter. But T-Raw did win this game 38-21. Or at least that's how we're going to phrase it for show purposes. But I thought this was a big game for him and how he played, especially in that first half. And then I'm going straight to Colton. Because, again, the only perception I have of users only information I have of users is the information that's given. Colton won this game 24-0. And, obviously when I saw the score in this game, I thought, oh, shit, here comes Colton with Texas. How is he going to finish out? And then, of course, Sorak not being in the position that he wants to. I've seen statements he's made in the chat about fixing this team with Penn State to kind of his desired play. But that's a shutout. I don't know how you ignore those. Week 2, Going straight to Nav. He won with NC State 28-21. I believe this game was over Hendricks, I believe, with Michigan. I have never not thought this dude couldn't ball. So it didn't shock. When he first got NC State, I'm pretty sure there was a few responses, or at least that I saw, that was like, that's interesting. Why did he make that choice? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I've seen this dude play, and he actually can play this game. He wins this one 28-21. I really think this game impacted Steve majorly from a ranking standpoint, but we'll see how he bounces back. Close game to finish out, but again, man, dude knows how to finish out a game, and he's currently undefeated up to this point. Going straight to week 3, Vic gets a solid win with OU, and this game right here for me, I don't really want to say too much because obviously everybody watches streams, but ultimately, what I could see in this game is Vic has changed his gameplay somewhat from last year. And he had to make some adjustments playing against Georgia. It came down to the second half for the most part. But ultimately, once Vic got his advantage, he just never gave it back as far as the game itself. But he ultimately did pull this one out 33-21. And then the next one goes to Gideon. Gideon changes my mind about Isaiah in week 3 because Gideon takes Arizona State and puts hands and feet on Isaiah. He put hands and feet on Isaiah. 55-13, another dominant win that I saw in week 3. Week 4, I didn't really take a whole lot of information from week 4. I didn't catch a whole lot out of week 4. This was actually a good game, though. This was actually a good game out of CJ and Showtime. Came down to the wire for the most part. Like, this was actually a good game if you caught it. But obviously, again, Mark, this was the game, right, as season went on, for Mark with SMU. Then I'm thinking, oh, shit, okay, now what's happening with Colton in Texas? Because he just recently had shut out Penn State. And now you have a team from Dallas right down the road, not really known like that, come in and win 38-10. But I didn't take a whole lot from the week 4 week. For week 5, I definitely did. And this is kind of where that wall hit for Colton and those Longhorns, because right after that, he takes a loss to DMAC with Ole Miss, 31-11, having a hell of a time trying to find this game on the schedule. But I did see this game. There it is, 31-11 with Ole Miss over Colton with that Texas Longhorns team. So he had 2 back-to-back tough losses with Texas. That was kind of an interesting window that he went through with those Longhorns. And again, boosted Ole Miss up that rankings. And we'll see how long DMAC's able to hold on to that. Going into week 6, I mean, there's only one game. There's really only one situation. And let me tell you, these people are the best of friends, maybe. Kinda, not really, no. Smitty did exactly what he said he was going to do without really saying it out loud. His goal was to shut down Gideon. His goal was to shut down Gideon with Arizona State. He did that 31-14. I mean, that was the game of the week. There really wasn't any other game that I was really trying to pay attention to that week as far as game of the weeks. I did want to see what would happen between Traw and Solrak. And again, Traw, all I know is the man was a previous GOAT. He won that one 41-14 in week 6. And then the next game, of course, was Fireman recovers. Fireman recovers with Georgia and wins 42-7. Definitely gets him a dominant win. Trying to figure out that Georgia squad, man, they're going to be scary in ways with this update. But he takes out Juwan 42-7. That was a big win for him in that week 6 period. Going into week 7, and again, kind of brought this up earlier a little bit, 67 to 65. I mean, hell, it was a damn track race. Whoever was the fastest pretty much won. I mean, that was just the game. It was just back and forth. I don't want to play either one of these people. I don't want to play either one of these people after I saw that. Like, there's nothing but a damn track race, and whoever scored more at the end basically won. So probably a fun game to be a part of. I don't want to be a part of that. I like my low scores. I like my 25 and down range as far as a point system. I ain't trying to be a part of that. That's too much. But that was a crazy game. It was literally a track race. It reminded me of a game Texas Tech played in a while back with a quarterback that most people should know. And then, of course, the other game that did happen this week, Colton got another shutout. Currently, Colton is the only user to have two shutouts or to have shutouts between both leagues, unless I just missed something, and y'all would have to throw that information out. And then, of course, last but not least, where we currently sit now, Smitty gets another big game. Of course, I think T-Raw is going to figure. I'm sorry, not T-Raw. I think Solrak's going to figure it out at some point with that Penn State team. But it was a big win for Smitty with LSU, and we'll see how things pan out for Solrak within the recruiting board. I mean, hell, I actually can see from a recruiting board that he's actually kind of in attack mode on some shit that I have, cuz, like, if you could just move around, cuz. But Smitty wins this one 62-22. He always also got a big game against Clemson like this. I believe it was 63-14. But that was another big game as far as the games itself, as far as league play. Well, I do hope you guys all have a good rest of the day. And again, like I said, my entire goal was just to make sure that we get out content. The current updates to the game, how are they going to change league play? Man, I have no idea. Because one thing we've learned about EA is every time they make a change, they either break something or they change something. We will have more interactive shows when it comes to league play. That means between myself, Legend, I'm going to try to get Mark back on the show. I need to find me a user from KOC that I can add to the show. But ultimately, man, we're trying to get back to that interactive space. As far as league schedules, as far as communication within the chat, man, we appreciate y'all for the way we are starting. Definitely from a communication standpoint, it is appreciated. But I do hope all of you have a good rest of the day. I'm actually going to go watch my daughter be great in about an hour, so I'm going to prep for that. I'll talk to y'all soon, man. Peace.